Renewed Mind Revolution Podcast. A place that empowers, encourages, and informs. We're breaking through, we're rising strong. A brand new mindset where we belong. Empowered voices, hearts aligned. Encouraging truth, renewed in mind. It's the revolution. Let your spirit soar. We're here to lift you, give you so much more. Encourage and power, inform with love. A renewed mind journey, grace from above. Hello, and welcome to Renewed Mind Revolution Podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. It's always my honor and my pleasure to share some tips and tools with you that will assist you in becoming a better version of yourself. Now, I have what I call home family here today because these wonderful people have been on this show at least once or twice between the two of them, but I have one new person today. And they are here today to talk about Volume 3 of a project that was spearheaded by Dr. Heather Robinson, correct?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
So, Philip, tell me the name of this project because we have together talked about Volume 1. Together, we have talked about Volume 2. And I have the pleasure now of talking to you guys about Volume 3. So, talk to me today and these listeners about this next part of this project.
Sure. First, I want to just say thank you for having us, Michelle.
Welcome.
The name of this book or anthology series is Educators Rise, Voices of Change. Now, we're in the third volume here, and what we've been talking about, the overarching topic or theme would be diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
And so in the first one, we declared what DEI was.
Yes.
We explained the process of what it looks like in our societies and our respective fields. And in this third volume, what we've done is we've now taken the information from the first two volumes to apply action steps in terms of how the reader can best use these practices in their respective industries.
Okay. So when I first spoke to Dr. Heather Robinson, and unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, she's not here today, but she has these wonderful people to stand in for her to share this project. When we first talked about it, the first thing I said to her was, your timing is crazy, because when she first brought this project to me, we was in the new administration. And they had completely dismantled the DEI services projects within all areas of our country. So I was, that's the first thing I said was, Dr. Robinson, what the timing is crazy, it's baffling. But it just proved the more we talked, how much more was needed to be shared about it. I learned so much from each and every one of you all, from your careers and your experience and your education. And it was eye-opening for me because, to be honest, I was limited in what I understood about how much it did cover, right? And I shared that multiple times. I didn't know that. And I know if I didn't know it, someone else didn't know it as well. So I felt that was important. So you made that very clear in saying that now they had the part 1 that kind of let you know what it was. Now, when you get to the part 3, it's telling you how you can, make action on it. Okay, so my question, I want to ask this to the new kid on the block, Professor Steve Maynard, because this is one gentleman that I haven't met yet, but I'm very happy to meet. We did have opportunity to chat prior to this podcast. So what did this being involved in this project mean for you? Why did you want to get involved in what Dr. Heather Robinson was doing? And she's coming in, mind you, you guys, she's on her way in right now. So
Awesome.
Absolutely awesome. So tell me, Professor, tell me, why was this important for you?
First off, thank you for having me. I got in the project because of the unnecessary attacks and demonization of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts.
Right.
And being in the classroom every day surrounded by a diverse group of students, it let me know that the folks doing this kind of undermining of DEI really don't understand what diversity, equity, and inclusion is.
Right.
So I wanted to give voice to some things that I'd already been thinking, to say we are different, and that's okay. To live in a world where everyone looks, thinks, acts, and believes the exact same way.
Right.
What a boring world that would be.
Yeah.
So that's why the project drew me in, because there was somebody bold enough to say, wait a minute, this is beyond the pale. What are we doing? We're really trying to be set back in regards to any progress that is made over a period of time.
Right.
And it feels like, and it looks like, and it is like rolling back of any effort, institutions, businesses, government employees, to get rid of anything that has to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, because those who are doing the attacking feel like they're going to be replaced, or they are being looked over because everybody else gets a seat at the table. So that's how I got involved. I got interested. I'm so grateful to Dr. Robinson for connecting with me and trusting me to contribute to Volume 3, because how we apply it is so practical on a daily basis, particularly in the classroom. Uh, we apply it in the classroom. I applied it during my time in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
It was all about everybody here is welcome. Nobody here is excluded or jumping ahead of the table or getting the opportunity that's not merit-based or not earned. I'm not getting these opportunities because of the color of my skin or because somebody, had to fill a quota. No, I want to beat out any and all comers. As far as to my ability to be effective as a United States Marine, and now crossing over into the classroom and having an impact on the lives of my students.
Awesome. So I'm going to welcome Dr. Heather Robinson, but I want to stick right there to what you said. You are currently, because I stated we've met pretty much everyone but you're assistant professor of communications at Davie Community College. And you mentioned
Yes,
about the Marines. So your bio stated that you're retired Marine aviation specialist. Is this? Yeah. Okay. So
yes,
you have a lot of experience to share with Dr. Heather Robinson in this project. What I love about this project, actually, to be really honest and transparent, you all come from all walks of life, and I found that to be so interesting, and it makes it more impactful, right? Because you're just not from this vein. It's like you all might be in a level of dealing education now, but you have a background sometime in other areas as well. So that makes this even more interesting. Welcome, Dr. Heather Robinson. We're so glad to have you.
Hey, girl. It's me again.
You had a challenge coming today.
So remember Volume 2 when it happened to the devil thought he had me. But I wanted to share with everybody. You know this, but they don't know this. I always choose our first group interview to be on this podcast. And there's a reason behind it, right? And so whoever listened in with Volume 2 when we did it, I was on with Dr. Alicia, and we talked about that briefly. The very first time we met and I got on your podcast, you were one of the first podcasts I'd ever gotten on before. And because of how I felt you handled me in that, I knew I was like, she's gonna be a good fit to handle the authors that gave me a yes, because Professor Stu, you new to the game, right? But anybody that has done anything with me knows that anybody that's in an anthology with me, I don't play about them. So I'm not just gonna put you on anybody's podcast. I'm not just gonna let anybody do a write-up about you. We're not doing that, right? So I needed to put that out there so that people would know, not just volume 3, but volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. This is the podcast that we were always on first for our first interview together as a collective.
Yeah, and you told me last time I'm coming with this third one coming up. So yeah, I was ready for you. So once again, we did hear from Philip. He was explaining to us about the third one, which is where we can apply it in this current environment. There's a feedback. Is that me? Do anyone hear any feedback?
No, it could be. It could be me. Let's see.
Okay. I just don't. Okay. Yeah, it's gone. Okay. So in this current administration, anyone can take it. Don't all jump at once. But in this current administration and current environment, how do you feel you can apply this? Okay, because if the third one is now that we apply it, how do you do that? It's not designed for it anymore, right? So it's not easy. It's not accepted. And the way they can twist things these days, it'd be very difficult, very challenging. Your job was already challenging. It was already, hard. It was already difficult. Now they put this in this, and you need to apply it. How do you do that? How are you going to be able to? I mean, don't tell me your whole plan, because I don't want to get the book, but I want them to get the book. But tell me a little bit about how do you execute this?
Well, taking it back to starting where you are, and I've done Facebook Live interviews with Dr. Alicia and Minister Philip so far. Throw that out there. And one of the things that keeps coming up is, how do we apply it? I think the application of DEI depends on the individual person. So if I'm a teacher and I'm in a classroom, I just came out of the classroom with pre-K kids. So one of the things that I look at when I'm looking at DEI, and I did this for a dissertation, and I'm actually speaking on the 23rd at the Pennsylvania Educators Diversity Consortium. They're having a summit. This is like their 7th one. It's Unfinished and Unafraid. And I break down the kind of like the comparison of equity and equality.
Okay.
I think we focus a lot on equality because we understand it better. We don't look at the equity of things. And when you look at equity as it pertains to DEI, not as it pertains to real estate, and they talking about the equity in your home, but the equity meaning meeting a child where they are. And I talked about this on the last podcast we did. Equality means I have Kira, Philip, Michelle, and Stu in a classroom, and I give y'all everything equal. So whatever the lesson is, if you're using crayons, you're going to use crayons, you're going to use crayons, you're going to use crayons. I'm going to explain it to y'all all in one group. And then the expectation is you have equal materials, so you should be able to do whatever the work is. That's not always the case. I'm someone that had an IEP with 5 sections, and I can tell you that every individual child comes in at a different level and learns differently. So just because I look like I might be up there with everybody else, I might not be. And I might not learn the way Philip learns. I might not learn the way Kira learns. I might learn differently. And so as an educator, you got to start in your own classroom. And a part of that is asking the question, what are ways that I can incorporate what Kira likes in this lesson? Because we might be talking about, I don't know, we might be talking about dinosaurs, and that might not be her thing. So how can I incorporate something that's going to get her to learn what I need her to learn, but still she be able to learn it the best way she knows how? So learning how to meet individual needs versus clumping everybody together. Even when you talk about children that have IEPs, just because my IEP says the same as Stu's IEP doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome is that we're going to reach the outcome the same.
Right.
So sometimes some of us crawl longer. Some babies, they start off crawling and then they walk.
Mm-hmm.
Some babies skip crawling, they go straight into walking.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You have parents that are like, my child's 14 months. How come they're not even pulling themselves up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the equality is, oh, well, I want my child to walk at 1. And these are the things that I've done with my previous children. But equity is, this particular child is going to take a little longer, so I have to figure out a different technique. So for me, applying it, you have to understand what's going to work for the group that you have, and then it will spill over into other people watching you saying, hey, if Dr. Kara can do that with her class, maybe if I shift this or I pivot this way, I can too. That's the application for me.
Awesome. I like the analogy of the difference between equality and equity. The way you explained that, it makes a lot of sense. Like, makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate the way you broke that down, because I'm sure someone's thinking, yeah, okay, I get it, because it's true. It what takes one, somebody else, it's going to take something a little different, and it's not always necessary. I know in this case we're talking about IEP. But sometimes it's just they learn differently, period, right? So it takes that extra time, that little, whatever you said, as far as, just a little time to the side. Don't mean it takes 30, 40 minutes, just a little time sometimes. So absolutely. Dr. Kira Longmire, let's hear from you today. Why, after participating in the other volumes, did you say, I want to continue to ride this wonderful train?
But I'm so happy that you asked me that. Well, I want to say thank you for having us on board. This means a lot to me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you.
And just to make a long story short, I get excited talking about DEI. In our previous interviews, I did say that I'm currently in school for my second doctorate in special education at American College Education. And I have learned so much about IEPs, safeguards or protocol, differential learning, creating a safe environment for children who have exceptionalities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very rewarding. And I already told Miss Heather, Dr. Heather, I'm going to ride this wheels till the wheels fall off. So she already know that I'm coming when she called me. So I ain't going nowhere. I just feel like what she's doing is very impactful. I think that it's meaningful.
Yes.
And it just gives me a chance to voice not only my experience, but my thoughts, my perspective of DEI and the importance of it in education. Not only is early childhood education, special ed, secondary education, but also in higher education too. I'm coming up in a year of teaching higher ed this September, so it'll be a year in teaching higher ed, and so I know the importance because I had adults learners who need accommodation, just like Dr. Heather said. For example, I had a student in higher ed who was visually impaired. So I had to make accommodations in their assignments and expectations so they can meet the goal. And I'm so happy the way that Heather explained it as well, applying it, application, and I like to say that one way to apply DEI is through differential learning. How do that child learn? For example, if a child have a speech problem, how can we get them to read? You can use speech to text, assistive technology.
Mm-hmm.
You can let them sit in front of the classroom to hear your voice, if that, to hear your voice more, if that makes them feel more connected to you. You can introduce vocabulary before teaching that subject matter,
Mm-hmm.
so they can understand what's going on. Also to activate prior knowledge and establish new goals and objectives and seeing their baseline. So, just to piggyback off of Dr. Heather, because every child does not learn different. So for me, applying the practical is through differential learning and assistive technologies. And there's so many assistive technologies that could be used, just like I said, in higher ed, I had an adult who needed that. And we had to create and ensure that our course where she was able to hear the text where it read out to her because she was visually impaired.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to use speech to text for her. And I had to differentiate some of the signs because I knew that she could not produce in other ways as typical adults who was not impaired in that way. So and for somebody to undermine it, it's just um it just it just hurts. So
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that this project, what we're doing, really shed light in DEI and to make a positive impact, that it should stay. And DEI should be here to stay.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of it. And whenever she called me, I'm coming.
And I know she appreciate that too. And
Uh,
what I love about the conversations that I hear with you guys is that you definitely can hear the passion and the care for those that you are serving, the students, whether they are adults or whether they are children. I've heard a lot of different stories and perspectives of the challenges that you guys are facing, that you guys are dealing with. And as I stated, Dr. Heather, you wasn't here, but I stated that when you brought this to me, I was talking about your timing and how the timing was crazy when you first brought it out because of what we were dealing with. Who knew, right? Who knew? But I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking that we did probably, of course, did not know, but God knows, right? And so this is something that it's important because no one's going to talk about it. And one of the reasons that people don't want to talk about it, they don't want to face the fact that it's not just about workplaces. Because that's the truth, right? We talked about this in the beginning when we talked about volume 1, is that when people think about DEI, they think about employment, and those type of areas, but they never think about the impact of their children. And I think if from the very beginning someone came out and said, hey, this is going to impact your kids, this is going to impact the resources to your children, and that truth and that education part about what DEI taken away would have done, I think it would have made other people a little bit more uncomfortable about what they were going along with. They didn't understand the impact of what that is going to do, because once you start, damaging the education of our children or those who are struggling that are adults, it can go decline. But I see a hand up, and I want to make sure I acknowledge Dr. Minister Phillip. I know you're a minister now again, so let's hear what you need to say and add to this conversation.
I think for myself, when looking at this through the lens, it's like any relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if the government and these agencies are the I guess you can equate that to the marriage between husband and wife,
Okay.
then the evidence of that is the impact that it has on the people, the
Mm-hmm.
masses. When we're looking at how the impact of the dismantling of, say, Department of Education, or say rollbacks in the Department of Health and Human Services,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all of these social programs
Mm-hmm.
that people have benefited for maybe generations,
Mm-hmm.
you got to consider, okay, what is the evidence of that? And on one half of the argument, you have a small percentage of people thinking that this is just about race,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to really define what DEI looks like, because I think when you're looking at the sound bites and you're listening to TikToks and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
we get into the habit of making a keyhole perspective absolute, right? And so if we don't have a clear understanding of what DEI was purposed for, as we did in the first couple of volumes, then these action plans will still be falling on deaf ears, because what winds up happening is, why am I going to implement a strategy, or why am I going to support a plan, or why am I going to fight for these groups of people when, one, I can't relate to them,
Mm-hmm.
I may not even like them,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know the impact of what it's going to do for my own perseverance in self-preservation.
Right.
And it's like you said, it's not just in education, but ultimately this whole thing is about the children, because the children at some point are going to be adults,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to be raising children. And what's going to wind up happening is, what is the foundation that they have in terms of being able to, for lack of a better expression, being able to sell what we consider the American dream, or is it a nightmare?
Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Listen, I absolutely agree with you. We talked about this a lot for the first two volumes. I think the second time we were around, we had even about the business perspective because my husband joined us. Am I right, Dr. Heather? He joined us, and I never have him on our show. but it worked out. It worked out because he came in right on time, right? And he gave a perspective that we had yet to speak about. So he talked about the workplace and the work environment as well. But yeah, just learning just from you guys, the many areas that DEI affects in the school system. I never knew it went to that lent to that degree, and to hear that and understanding, like you just said, these children will become adults. And if they're pushed aside now, if they're ignored now, if they're mistreated now, and you know what I always tell people when they, when we go back and forth about certain conversations, well, why is this in effect? Why is this a law? That seems unfair. Why is it that, and I always tell them, do you understand it's the reason why that had to be put in place in the first place? You understand that? Do you understand that there had to be some injustice? There had to be some racism. There had to be some bigotry. There had to be something that was put in place from the very beginning for them to say, hey, we got to change this. We have to change. And I think people miss that part. They miss that. I mean, for example, I have a degree in criminal justice. And so people ask about, prisoners who have all these rights. Well, that's because there was a time where prisoners were spending years that they were supposed to been out of jail, out of prison. They were mistreated, and stayed in there way past their time. So they had to have a reform. So whenever you see something that is in place, it's not that someone said, oh, let's just do this because it sounds good or it looks good. These things are implemented because something was done wrong. Some type of injustice was done, some type of harmful, someone died, someone was abused, someone was mistreated, someone was ignored. How many jobs were, people looked at their name and said, well, that's a minority name. Let's throw that in the garbage. I mean, so there's a reason why these things are put into place. And so, once again, when people think about DEI, they just think about that job application. And they think, oh, well, they're just giving jobs to those who are minorities and they're ignoring everyone else. But they're not thinking about, okay, you all take DEI out of that, but they're also taking it out away from your children. From those who are disabled in schools and need those resources and need that help. They're not thinking about that part. And so that's why I think this is so important. I want you to tell me about your conference, is Dr. Heather Robinson. Tell me about your conference that's coming up.
All right. So, y'all know Juneteenth is coming up.
Yes.
So I threw a monkey wrench on in there, and I have a Juneteenth special. Juneteenth special on tickets is until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, June 20th. In order for you to get those, because I do not have it on my website, this is exclusive, you have to reach out to me by email. You got to reach out to me by email because there's a certain way for you to be able to pay, because the early bird special is up on the website. Okay. But the Juneteenth special is less. So you won't be able to go to the website and pay for it. So you're going to have to work for the discount.
Okay.
But the discount will be worth it. Our conference is on Saturday, July 18th, 2026 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This will be at the Hilton Gardens Inn in Exton. They just renovated it last year, and they had their first big event January 2nd. And here we are. I fell into that location.
What is this conference about, Doctor?
So this conference, this is this conference is about volume 3. We're applying it. But the way it's set up is a little bit different. I have a panel of authors.
Okay.
And then I have 2 keynote speakers. So the way it's going to work is there's going to be 2 people that actually do a keynote talk, and then we're going to do a panel discussion throughout. So it gives the moderator the opportunity to ask the authors questions about their journey, their chapter. I have someone that was in volume 1 that's coming to be a part of the panel as well.
Okay.
I actually just I actually scheduled her podcast with you to be next week. So that's a little surprise for some people who didn't necessarily think that this was going to go further than just the authors of volume 3. There's also some tricks up my sleeve. There's some surprises for those that are attending. My authors have absolutely no idea what their surprise will be for attending. I'm at a stage in life now, because of the cost of shipping things, that in order to get things, you have to show up. Yeah. So just in a season where I'm kind of leading with, in order to get something, you have to give something. And sometimes it's your time. Sometimes it's your efforts. Sometimes I'm just going to surprise you. So it just depends. So you guys can wait and see. But this is going to be, last year was a great success, but this year is going to be different. Minister Phillip spoke last year, gave a phenomenal talk, by the way.
Okay.
And I'm still getting feedback from people about people's talks last year.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Yeah, it's a conference, but it's not really like a conference. It's going to be an experience.
Okay. So I think this is the first time you shared this with me on the podcast. I don't think we've talked about your conferences before, so that's why I wanted to know a little bit more about your conferences. Okay. Yes. I know someone who said that's a special day for them. Isn't that right, Dr. Longmire? Is it your birthday, you said?
Yes, it's my birthday. Yes, I'm very excited to see it. I just wish that she was kind of close to the Ohio area. Lord Jesus. I'm very but I will I definitely been thinking about it. I have to attend one of these conferences. Like, I have to really plan my summer to really. I've been thinking about. I might have to make a trip to Philly and have me a Philly steak as well.
That sounds good. Just don't have it on her birthday next time, so she could show up and attend.
So there's a story behind that I didn't get to tell Dr. Kira. June is the month that I did the conference last year, and I wanted to keep it in June. But to lock in with this connect that I actually developed in January over at the Hilton, I had to lock it in for July.
Oh, see?
But moving forward, I'm looking at it being in June for every year.
Okay, so she got you next year. Okay, so before we start to wind this up, I want to give everyone an opportunity just to, say what you would like to share with the listeners before we close this out. First, let's start with the new kid on the block. That's your new name. Professor Steven, let's hear it. Let's hear from you before we close out.
Okay, I take being a new kid as a compliment. Speaking of birthdays, my birthday was yesterday.
What?
I turned the youthful age of 48.
Oh, wow.
So, Dr. Robinson, going forward next year, I don't mind if you have the conference on my birthday. Just shameless plug.
Shameless.
Well, again, I just so very much appreciate the opportunity to participate and to demonstrate how we could do this if we make it practical and we make it literal. The examples that everybody talked about, reaching the people where they are, and giving them what they need, and demonstrating I am giving you what you need to succeed, but the student sitting next to you or the Marine sitting next to you doesn't need the same thing. I'm not giving them an advantage. I'm giving them tools to overcome one of the many obstacles that our students and my former Marines came to the table with. And I just apply it on a daily basis. I live in the greater Greensboro area. The community college that I teach in is in the suburbs. It is majority white school.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of a few instructors that are Black, and for a large majority of my students, I am the first Black man that they've ever had in front of them in a classroom. And they are shocked that I don't meet the stereotypes that they've heard promoted in the media about how Black men are. And then when they experience how I treat them, I love on them, I'm firm, I'm fair, and I give the students exactly what they need. And we have to be flexible enough to make this. We got to take back the power of the demonization of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Philip said it perfectly. It is way beyond just your ethnicity or the color of your skin. It really is based on needs. And then when you start explaining, I am giving you more young, white, Caucasian, male, what you need, and nobody in here is offended or think I'm hooking you up, then they start to realize, wow, this DEI thing is probably not what I've been sold, primarily by conservative news and politicians who are spouting foolishness because they feel like they've been aggrieved by giving everybody else a seat at the table.
Right.
So I welcome the passion from Dr. Robinson and everybody who contributed to the first two. And I was just so excited that there is a Black woman out here boldly talking about the importance of these efforts. And oftentimes it's Black women who take the lead when it comes to seeing discrepancies and stepping out and saying, okay, this is not right. We need to do something about it. And I'm just glad that I'm on board to contribute in any way I can to help personalize how important diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts are.
I appreciate that. You know what? To be honest, it's so unfortunate that in year 2026, you have to change people's mindset about what they perceive people of color to be. And to be honest, during 2020, I had that same experience in the class. I was getting a master's degree and, George Floyd was happening. And I was intentionally being quiet because I was in a school that I was completely the minority. And they, asked me, are you intentionally being quiet, or we would love to hear from you? I said, I'm doing it on purpose because I did, I was, I was kind of frustrated. And I just explained to them, when you see my son, I have two sons and they're awesome people. When you see them, I want you to see your own sons. That's my problem. When you see my mother, I want you to think of your mother. When you see my daughter, think of your daughter. They're human beings. They are good people. They are full of life. There's nothing malice in their hearts. They, it's see them like you would see your own. And, and this school was it's a university, but it was a Christian university. But trust and believe me when I tell you, because they have they're limited with their experience. I'm gonna say it as nicely as I can. They're limited with their experience. They do have perceived ideas, even in a Christian university. And so oftentimes when I was asked to educate and inform, I did, but I did it feeling some type of way because I thought, of all places, you all should know better, and I've gotten a lot of because they had not been around, people of color. They assumed a lot, like you stated, based upon movies, TV shows, and whatever the narrative that the media wants to share. So, I understand that, but it's so unfortunate that you have to, do that now. It's 2026 and we're still having to educate people who, and I'm gonna make this very clear. This is intentional. They have their heads are not insane. This is very intentional to be this way. I mean, this one lady, I mean, she said something, and I thought to myself, have you never, she literally said she had never had a conversation with a black person before, and I could not believe it. I was like, and she's an American, so somebody could say she's a different country. No, she's an American and she's from America, and I was just, how? I mean, I speak to everybody, even in a store, from all nationalities. How you doing? You know, if it's a cashier, if it's a, you know, whoever, we just talk to people in the store. Talk like, how have you never had a conversation? And she said she had never had one, and I was just blown away. So
Miss Michelle, can I
go
say
ahead,
one
go
thing
ahead. I know
because of
it's
that?
my fault. I opened the door.
So it's ironic that a lot of this demonization of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts is coming from white conservative evangelicals. And I don't mince words when I say that because that's where it's rooted.
It's true.
And I buck that Christian nationalist mindset with practice.
Mm-hmm.
In practice, by the words that you tell me you read in your scripture,
Mm-hmm.
there is no way
Right.
you should be out here to roll back
Mm-hmm.
and not include, not be equitable, and not be diverse in your thinking based on the scripture that you say you believe in, the scripture that I believe in, and we absolutely don't see those scriptures the same way.
I used one
It's,
word. I used one word when I was in those classes every time, and I got them every time. I said, the last time I checked, the core is supposed to be love. It's supposed to be love. So where's the love? Where's the love? There's no love, because even in love, you want to make sure that those who are hurt, who are down and out, who are disabled, who are struggling, or with, you know, financially or mentally or physically, you want to make sure you're taking care of those people. That's a part of what you believe in. That's love.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but
It's total hypocrisy and against the teachings that they proclaim that they believe, but at the end of the day, it's a direct conflict according to the scripture of Christianity. And
absolutely
that's not even delving into
no,
the religious texts of
it's basic.
all of the other major religions
Right.
in the world.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. We can go all day with that, so we won't even touch it. We will not touch that. Uh,
I
Minister
just
Philip,
wanted to
I'm sorry. Go
can I
ahead.
just kind of jump in here real quick. I'm listening to it and I'm going back to a conversation I had when I was originally throwing out volume 1,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times people look at DEI as a black thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. When a white woman and a black woman go for an executive position with the same level of education, the same amount of years of experience, and the same level of expertise with phenomenal backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, they're going to pick that male. DEI is for women. It's not just about black women and black men. It's not just about brown women and brown men. DEI is so much deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a place for race relations. There's absolutely a place. We are in a society where you can't minimize that. You can't say you don't see color because it's blatant. But when we're talking about DEI and people are coupling it or merging it with affirmative action, and it's not that. This is not to get you extra funding so you can get to college because you're a minority. This
Mm-hmm.
is not to get you the mortgage that you shouldn't qualify for because
Hmm.
they're trying to meet their quota. This
Right.
is bigger than that. It's greater than that. And I feel like the pushback that you get from what we call the WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So this pushback you've gotten for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it's because they're trying to figure out where their place is as it pertains to the movement, whether it's during affirmative action, whether it's during the civil rights movement, no matter what it was, the biggest pushback was, where do I see myself? Right? And so by nature, we're selfish. We want to see ourselves. We want to know where we benefit. But if you take the lens off that is guided in whatever you have it guided in, where it's one way, and maybe consider there could be another way, I think we would be further along, not just as minorities, not just as men, not just as women, but as people. DEI is for the people. And that's I just wanted to jump in with that, because there's so much back and forth and there's so much resistance. DEI is for the people. If you are a person, DEI is going to impact you, whether it's because you are somebody's father, whether it's because you are somebody's sister, whether it's because you are somebody's great uncle. It's going to affect you. It already has. Whether you want to sit down and realize it or not, it has. And these are the hard conversations that people don't want to have. People kind of want to tiptoe around it or talk about a little bit of it. You got to call a thing, call a spade a spade. And the only way we're going to move forward in this is by looking at it from a different lens.
Yeah.
And that's what the talk has to be. We got to change people's mindsets and how they're looking at this thing.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at it all wrong. And that's where the pushback is coming from.
There is a bigger agenda, as you were stating, for women. There's a bigger agenda, and that's why they take these things away. Just quickly going to throw this in here, and I'm going to move on to Minister Phillip, is that if you all haven't heard, we're speaking about white evangelicals. The women were at their conference there, and they were stating, a lot of them were stating they were willing to give up their right to vote and follow suit from whatever their husbands choose. This is something that was said. You can go look it up from Turning Point. They said this. So this is what the women are saying. So it's a big agenda, a bigger agenda is my point. It's not just, what we, like you stated, what we think is way deeper than that. Nothing is by accident. Nothing is by coincidence. This is very designed. So keep that in mind when you say that, because when I heard that, I never thought I would live the day to hear women want to go back with not being able to vote. You choosing to do that? That's something I never thought I would hear. Minister Phillip, what is your last words?
It's a lot to take in, right?
I know.
But I'll say something. I'll say something brief based off of, just because it's still fresh in my mind, because I just spoke on this the other day. As a society, we have to understand a couple of key points with DEI, right? There are facts, there's truth, and then there's the reality, right? And if we're looking at it through the lens of who we are as people, as men and women, reflections of God, then you got to recognize this. There are facts. The fact is that DEI has been marketed, for lack of a better term, as a black thing, as a racial thing, right? As a gender thing, right? As a sexual identity thing. Everything other than what it really is, right? Now, the truth is this. There's only one truth. People can have interpretations or perceptions of the truth, but there's only one truth.
Okay.
And so we have to establish what is the truth. The truth of the matter is God created us with nuances and differences for a reason. God created us to become complementary to each other instead of supplementary, right? There has to be balance somewhere, because we're not supposed to be existing for transactions as all of these rollbacks and pushbacks are happening. It's because of transactions, not relationships, right? So even biologically, on a small scale, everything is about a relationship. And so then you have to understand the reality. What's the reality of it? Which reality do you choose? Do you choose the side of God's truth, or do you choose the reality of the world? And what society will tell you is that we have to be homogenous. We have to all think the same, but we all have to breathe the same, but we all have to believe the same, right? And Professor Steve made a very interesting point because, and I think you also said, you hinted on it as well, Michelle. The key to all of this is intentionality. Instead of just blindly searching for a knee-jerk response, and then we get caught up in our emotions, and then we fire back, right? And then we start finger pointing groups and subgroups and subcultures, when in fact the truth of the matter is, where do we stand first, and what is our identity, right? We can split hairs all day about if we're black, Negro, colored, Moors, Hebrew Israelites. At the end of the day, it doesn't move the needle. We have to recognize DEI is not about marching. It's not about another complaint. It's not another suggestion in the suggestion box. DEI is about really exposing each and every one of us to a system to provide us with what we need. We have to stop trying to accept. If I'm being transparent, because I'm gonna be honest with you, we have to stop. We have to stop thinking that civil rights is the only fight or battle that we're fighting at the same time. You can't have civil rights without human rights. You can't have human rights if you don't know who you are. And until we identify exactly who we are and where we stand collectively, we become insular, and it's easy to snuff out small fires. So that's my soapbox.
Okay. Okay, Kiara Longmire, Dr. Kiara Longmire, let's see what you have to say to close us out as well.
Thank you so much once again for having us here. And just to keep it brief, this working on this 3-book series has been very impactful, very changing for me, not only as an educator, but as a mother as well. Just to piggyback off what Dr. Heather Roberts said, DEI is for everyone. And whether you know it or not, you have been impacted. Whether it's due to linguistic differences, whether it's due to religious differences, whether it have to do with exceptionalities and disability, whether it have to do with immigration, everybody's is impacted. And it's just more than being a black thing or like a woman thing. It's everyone thing. Everyone. And once people realize that everybody falls underneath DEI in one way, I don't care what's one thing that makes you different, there's one thing that makes you different. And it's for everyone. And once we realize that by taking it away, you take a piece of everyone in society. So, and I do believe that, DEI is, it is the backbone of our education system, work environment, business, how we approach our personal life, friendship. It's the way that we just operate. And I'm so happy to be part of this book collaboration, this series, because I do believe that it is a message that is imperative that I do believe that everyone should get, and hopefully, that's our goal. Right. And everyone is different in their own way.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I put the book back up there, all volumes that are there. The first was released last year in April, and then we had this year in February, the 24th, and now we're waiting for the next volume 3 for July the 18th, 2026. And it has once again been my honor and my pleasure to be able to host you guys and share about your project, this collaboration of educators. I'm talking about something that is very hot right now, still, right? And that's DEI, how important it is. And so we also talked about your conference that is coming up on Dr. Longmire's birthday, July the 18th, 2026. And once again, I'm gonna just throw that up there so they can take a look at your website at the bottom, because that will have the information on there, correct? Okay. So thank you all for your time. Thank you all for sharing with my listeners about this project. Thank you for honoring me with giving me this first tip, first insight, first everything when it comes to this. I hope you guys enjoy being on here, because I enjoy having you. I love our conversations. Sometimes we go there real fast. We try to come back, but I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love each and every one of you. And as always, my prayer is that this would take off. God's hand would be on it, and you all would be blessed for being obedient to God. And thank you so much for once again, coming on Renew Mind Revolution podcast and sharing your experience, your education, and your skill set with us. So thank you guys again for coming. I hope you have a blessed day. And for those who are listening, remember, I love you, but most importantly, God loves you more. God bless.